Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you for having me, Sandra, coming from the UN. Usually I'm the only ambassador of Israel in a room, but here we have more than 1,000 ambassadors, so I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much, Pastor, Diana, Sandra, for having me.
Thank you. Well, let's get into it. We were talking backstage, Pastor mentioned at the beginning of the summit, we have all been planning this summit in pencil, and our erasers have had to be used over time because the news has been changing so quick concerning Israel, the Middle East, Iran. But I want to back up a little bit and just, if you could tell our people, because I promise we're going to go from tragedy to triumph, but we do need to start at the beginning. Where were you when you first learned about October the 7th having happened?
I was at home with my family, like most Israelis, Chag Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, a beautiful holiday. We had a very large feast with the extended family the night before, and I was caught by surprise. And I was, back then, member of the subcommittee of intelligence in the Knesset, in the parliament, which is the most important subcommittee in the House, and we know everything. And I was shocked. I was shocked because we had no clue. We were caught by surprise. My son, Aviad, was in the military. He was home that weekend, so immediately he grabbed his weapon, he took his bag, and he found a way to go south. And I felt that I wanted to join him at the reserve, but I'm too old for that. And I'm serving in other ways. But we were caught by surprise. And you know, I remember as a child when I read the story about Yom Kippur War in 1973. And I asked myself, how can it happen to us? And here, 50 years after, it happened to us. So it took us, you know, a few days to come back, push back the enemy. And we are still in a war. We still have the hostages, 50 hostages. But thank God, look where we are today. We're in a different place.
Exactly. And where were you, same question, when you found out that Israel had successfully struck Iran?
So I was at the UN in New York. I cannot tell you what I knew or what I didn't know, but this time we knew exactly what we are doing. And I can tell you that... yes, we should...
That's worth clapping for.
And we are grateful for the intelligence teams, for the pilots. By the way, we had 25 female pilots attacking Iran. And I think, you know, we proved our capabilities, our strengths, and we sent a very strong message to the entire region that Israel is strong. Yeah. After October 7th, some of our enemies thought that that's it, you know, that's the end of Israel. But I think after what we did in Lebanon, and after what we accomplished in Iran, today people know not to mess with Israel.
Not to mess with Israel, absolutely. Well, I know that as an American, as a Christian, watching Israel attack Iran, especially for me, after hearing Pastor Hagee talk my whole life about the nuclear reactor in Iraq. I was less than 1 year old, and I was living that same history, had come full circle. So I felt like a party had started, but felt left out because I wanted America to join so badly. I know that for us, it was on a Saturday night. I was sitting watching TV with my husband, and I screamed so loud, and he said, "What is the matter with you?" I said, "We did it." And he said, "What?" I said, "We just bombed Iran." So I think you were sleeping, or maybe you had some knowledge and you were awake. Oh, you were in America. What am I talking about? You were here. So tell me, what did you do when you found out that we actually did it? That we actually showed, we were late, but we got there.
I was not sleeping the night before or the night after, but I can tell you that you know, in the book of Exodus, you read about Nachshon ben Aminadav. He was the first one to jump into the Red Sea and cross the Red Sea. So Israel was the Nachshon ben Aminadav. We were the first one to jump into the water, to neutralize the missiles in Iran, to pave the way to the brave American pilots who came with the strength, with the power of the United States and finished the job in Iran. And I think God showed us the way that, we were the one who jumped in first, and the US joined us, and it's remarkable. I beg to differ with you, because when we attacked the reactor in Iraq, Israel was condemned by the US. President Reagan, which was a great president, condemned us. It took him years to acknowledge. President Trump immediately said, Kol hakavod, well done, excellent job. And I want to thank President Trump, and I think that he deserves to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for what he did. And he should be invited to Norway on December 10th when they give the awards for the Nobel Peace Prize laureates. He should be there on the stage because he deserves it. What he did, he changed history, and we are grateful for that.
Yes, we are. Very proud. I will say, I know that America and the American media and the American presidents did not agree with what happened in 1981. There was nobody happier than Pastor John Hagee in 1981, and that's what started Night Honor Israel. He said, Israel has done the world a favor, and Israel has done the world a favor again by liberating the region from the threat of a nuclear Iran, and we could not be more grateful. That's worth clapping for. Go ahead. Ambassador, we were talking earlier about the hostages. You, of course, heard about how Yair came here and joined us. We were able to meet with him in Hostage Square when we were in Israel in May. And we said we would do everything that we could to help him. And he came here, and for anybody that was here, he jumped off the stage and jumped over the barricade to hug Pastor Hagee. He said, "Thank you for helping me. I didn't think you would help me so quick. Thank you for helping me." So, with what you know, with what you can share, could you give us an update on the efforts in Gaza? Because we know that this war is not over until they are all home. Victory in Iran, but the war is not over until they are all home. Where are we with the efforts in Gaza and bringing home the hostages?
First, Sandra, I agree with you. Yesterday I spoke in the Security Council, and I don't speak about the hostages. They speak about humanitarian aid, about other issues. And I tell my colleagues, I'm like Cato the elder in Rome. I'm telling you it almost every week. This war will not end with the hostages in Gaza. So you can have resolutions, you can have discussions, but we will not leave even one hostage in Gaza. And we mean it when we say it. There is a proposal on the table. President Trump made it public. Everything he makes public very fast, you know that. So I'm just quoting what he said an hour ago. There is a proposal on the table for a ceasefire which will allow us to receive not all of the hostages, but many of them. Israel said yes. And we are still waiting for Hamas. And it's a painful proposal because we are releasing murderers, but we are willing to do that in order to bring back more hostages. I hope that in the next few days we will see it happening. Prime Minister Netanyahu is scheduled to come here to DC on Sunday. Actually, it will be his third visit in 6 months. It speaks volume. It shows the strength of the bond between Israel and the U.S. That the leader of Israel is coming to the U.S. 3 times. And I was there, the way it's being received. It's a real bond. It's a real partnership. And I think today when I walk at the UN, I'm very proud of that because I know that I'm not by myself. I have the support of the American people.
Yes.
I have the support of the administration. And I think today, both Israel and the US in a stronger position before the attack against Iran. Because even for President Trump, the leadership he demonstrated, today he can actually come and deal with other crises around the world. And I think what he did was not for Israel, What he did was for the American people, for the United States, and I think today it's clear.
And for the free world. And I know that as an American, when I say that it's nice to see a negotiation when you say you have 60 days and on 61 there's hell to pay, it's refreshing. It's refreshing. It's refreshing when we stop rewarding bad behavior and know that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish state and her people. I was talking to my friend earlier today. We were talking about the Abraham Accords and the magnitude that those agreements have had in reshaping the region through diplomacy. And something that I said to her, which is something that Pastor Hagee said to me, when we were sitting on the White House lawn watching the Abraham Accords be signed by the original signatories, he leaned over and said, "This is the first time they've all been together since the funeral of Abraham." And I know, I felt the same way. And so we don't believe in coincidence. We've seen how the Abraham Accords are working. Pastor Hagee and I took a delegation to the UAE just to thank the foreign minister for having the fortitude to stand with Israel. So with that in mind, we've heard since everybody has seen you probably don't want to mess with Israel since the attacks on Iran, we are now hearing rumblings of even more normalization with countries that would maybe have been lower on the list if people were going to start making bets. What can you tell us about that in terms of countries that are lining up to possibly normalize relations with Israel?
So first of all, I'm very optimistic about that. You know, we gained a lot of respect. In our region, in the Middle East, you know, you need that respect to move forward. And when I walked into the Security Council the day after we launched the operation in Beirut with the pagers, you know, the Muslim ambassadors, yes?
Yes. When will the movie come out? That's going to be good.
Sandra, the Muslim ambassadors came to me and told me, "Danny, you're inviting us to Israel like almost every month because I have delegations that I take to Poland and Israel every year. You know we cannot come. But if we can meet the guy who was behind the pager operation, we're signing up for your trip tomorrow." So I think when you see the admiration we gained, today we can move forward with more countries. I think it will happen sooner than we expect. And I think today, you know, before October 7th, we were very close to sign more agreements. And I think somebody found out about it, and that's why October 7th took place. So now, you know, after a long delay, we are ready to move forward, to expand the Abraham Accords. And like you mentioned, you know, I was involved in the negotiations with the UAE, so it was hard. They were afraid. But today, when you come and you see the partnership, we have 14 flights a day between Dubai and Tel Aviv.
Wow.
And when all the airlines canceled, including American Airlines, all of them canceled the flights to Israel, 2 airlines didn't cancel flights, El Al and Fly Dubai. So we saw that partnership, and we appreciate that. And today, after they also saw that we are willing to protect the interests of the region, I think we will see more countries, and I'm sure President Trump will push it very fast.
You all need to understand, when we went to UAE, these people were so grateful for the opportunity to do this. We walked by a mural that had an Emirati and an Israeli painted on a wall, and they were hugging each other, and underneath it, it said cousins. And that mural was painted on a wall outside a Holocaust museum in Dubai. It's in Dubai, right? Not Abu Dhabi, it's in Dubai. This is in UAE. These agreements, when you hear words like normalization, don't think that it's merely symbolic. These agreements are doing with diplomacy something that wars never could, and it's showing the world that even people that are supposed to be Israel's enemies recognize the humanity, the wisdom, the rationality with doing what they can to partner with the nation of Israel.
Amen. And I would add to that, you know, when you speak with the people in our region, they are good people. You know, they are very similar to us. They respect the same values that we have. We respect tradition, religion, family. You know, when I have discussions with my colleague in the Gulf area, but we have to understand that the regime is the problem. And if I may, I want to tell about the Iranian people, that we have nothing against the Iranian people. Mm-hmm. On the contrary, we respect them. They are the ones who are being oppressed the most by the regime. And whenever I get a chance, Sandra, I try to speak to them directly. So I give interviews to different Iranian channels that are based in the US and in Europe. I even try to speak with them in Farsi in the UN. Wow. But I was told my accent was terrible. So I will work on that. But I'm telling them, I'm sure some of them are actually watching us now, that we pray for the day that we will have peace again with the Iranian people under a new regime. And we can go back to the days before 46 years, before the revolution, we had flights from Tel Aviv to Tehran. And I'm not talking about our Air Force that flew a few hundred times. I'm talking about El Al flights that flew twice a week. And I believe that day will come. I believe it will come, and God is showing us the way. And look how much we achieved since the horrible day of October 7th.
Amen. Israel has done so much to reshape the region. Pastor Hagee said in his speech yesterday, Israel did more in 12 days than diplomacy has done in 12 years. Where do you see Israel in the next 5 years, God willing?
I'm sure, you know, we are still in pain. We have to admit it. It's not easy for us to be in the longest war since Israel was established. You know, and the war is not only the pain of the hostages and the families, or the pain of the families. Almost 2,000 people were killed since October 7th. And the pain is not only the people who went to find shelter for weeks. Even today, there was a ballistic missile that flew from Yemen into Israel. And thank God it was intercepted, but you know, millions of people had to run for shelter. We are in pain, but we are not broken. We are strong, and we are proud. And I'm sure that you will see Israel continue to flourish, and hopefully you will see the achievements. You know, today we spend so much time and energy in protecting ourselves. Imagine, and Dr. Miriam Edelson here, and she knows about medicine and medical a lot, but imagine if we would have put 10% of the energy we are putting developing defense systems in medical systems. Just imagine, you know, we put all of our energy, the best minds, the best people of Israel, we put them to develop defense system. So I hope that in 5 years we will be in a place that we will still have to protect ourselves, but we can also allocate some of the resources to help the world and to be a light to the nations.
God willing, always a light to the nations. We saw in your intro video, you have spent a lot of time at the UN. What has surprised you the most about your time there at the United Nations?
Well, first, as you know, I'm the only one and probably the last one who came back to the UN. Usually, you know, after you finish your term, you say, Baruch Hashem, thanks God, and you go back to Israel. And that's what we did. Me and my wife, Tali, and our kids, we finished a very successful term. We accomplished a lot with Ambassador Nikki Haley. She was a great ambassador. We did great things together. And I thought that's it. I will come back to New York only to visit friends. But then October 7th happened. And when the Prime Minister asked me to come again, I told him that here I am, in any, like my friend Dr. Bob said, in any. And then we relocated the family back to the UN. And I was surprised to see, because I thought that they would understand what happened to us. And when I walked into the UN, I was shocked that since October 7th until today, they were not able to pass one resolution condemning the atrocities of Hamas. And this organization was founded 80 years ago after the Holocaust in order to prevent the atrocities we saw on October 7th. And it didn't happen in the General Assembly. It didn't happen in the Security Council. And I tell them, listen, it is a stain. How can you speak about world peace and humanity when you cannot condemn what happened to us on October 7th? So, every day it's very hard for me. I put my suit, my tie, I walk into this building, I look at all the flags, and I tell my staff, we have to fight. When you see all the flags at the UN, you see many flags, but you see only one flag with the Star of David. So we have to stand tall, and we have to wake up every morning and fight back, and to expose the hypocrisy of the UN. And I believe that together with the new administration, we are waiting for the US ambassador to arrive, Ambassador-elect Mike Waltz, and I'm sure that together we'll be able to push back and change this hostile place.
Well, you are still serving. You are a soldier in a suit, no doubt. So thank you for answering the call. We continue at CUFI, even though we have the 12-day war and all of these other issues that we are concerned about and that we are watching, we don't take our foot off the gas on local issues, whether it's Holocaust education, the IRA definition to combat anti-Semitism, countering BDS, which we still don't have a federal law for in the United States of America, despite the fact that more than half the states in this nation have adopted some measure of anti-BDS legislation. So from your position, how do you see the global effort with BDS, of course, the effort to do with BDS, what bullets and bombs can do? It's the same kind of damage, the isolation, delegitimization, and destruction of the state of Israel. How do you see the state of that globally and efforts to counter it?
Sandra, the last time we met, you and Pastor Hagee and Diana was in Auschwitz. We marched together in the March of the Living. And when you look back at the atrocities of the Holocaust, you understand that it didn't start with Auschwitz or the gas chambers. It started with words and thoughts. And today we see it coming back, not with actions yet, but the words are there. They see the rise of anti-Semitism in the US, the attacks, and even some of the leaders. I will not get into your politics, but some of your leaders in the United States are anti-Semites. We have to face it. And I expect you to stand up.
Yeah.
And I know you for many years that you know how to stand up. You know how to fight back. And I'm sure that if you will continue to do that, not to allow them to use the social media and get elected to higher positions, we have to stop it now. Because today, and we have many Jews here, many of my friends from Israel, my colleagues, Jews don't feel safe today when they walk in the streets of Paris. They don't feel safe today when they walk in the streets of New York City. They will not tell you, but they will put a hat to cover the yarmulke, or they will put the Star of David before they go on a Uber ride or a taxi. They will hide it. That's the reality today all around the world, 2025. So in order to stop it and to minimize it, we need to stand up, we need to speak up, and you need to call. If you see someone with an anti-Semite, call him an anti-Semite. So today I have a campaign, maybe CUFI will join me, but with a UN official by the name of Albanese, Rafaela Albanese. I don't know if you heard about her. You can look her up. She publishes anti-Semite reports under the logo of the UN. And I want to tell you that today we heard very strong messages from the administration that they are considering not to allowing her to come to the US, which is very important.
Yeah.
But I want you to pick your own Rafaela Albanese. If you see someone with anti-Semite, call it. Call it, expose it.
That is so true. And we were talking, Rabbi and I, we were talking about sometimes we excuse it. They're crazy. They're doing it for attention. They don't really think that. We need to be more comfortable calling it what it is, which is Jew hatred.
Exactly.
I agree. Go
It's
ahead.
so easy here. We agree about everything, you know.
Next question, last question, unless, well, that's not true. This is the second to last question because I just thought of another one. We talked about this before. He said I could do this, which tells you that he really likes us and that he's really comfortable here because he said that I could color outside the lines, but I promise to keep it respectful. But last question, something that we were talking about at the table, which is why I asked if I could talk about it here. We've seen the success in Iran. By the way, I love it when people say, Israel dragged us into a war. That's called partnership, friends. That's not finishing what they started. That was planned together. That's what standing shoulder to shoulder looks like. That was partnership. And we saw, of course, Israel try to liberate prisoners, political prisoners in the nation of Iran, because we know that so many people are being wrongly held. What can America do, if anything, to help liberate the Iranian people, to give them a chance to take their country away from the regime?
So when we decided about the goals of the operation, we didn't include the regime change. We knew it's very sophisticated, complicated. We focused on degrading the abilities, destroying the nuclear sites, and removing the threat. And thanks God we were successful. I think today we should speak more to the Iranian people. I think it's up to them to decide how to do it and when to do it. And I believe the day will come. The day will come not when we decide about it. I say we, it's the US and Israel. It's about when they, the Iranian people, will decide it's enough. It's enough for them to suffer. And I'm talking about basic things. They don't have, heating in the winter. They don't have AC now when it's hot in the summer. They don't have food. They don't have medical services. So I think it is up to them to stand up and decide when the time will come. And they will be surprised to see how many nations will come and stand with them.
God willing. Last question.
You're saying last question for like 10 minutes now.
I know, but you keep giving me really good ones and it keeps inspiring another one. Last question. We've just come off our 20th summit yes, woo, woo. 2006, when Ahmadinejad was calling for Israel to be blown off the map. And I thank God that my children live in a world that they only know CUFI. They don't live in a CUFI-less world. My children are younger than CUFI. But our people have spent their time, their talent, their treasure, sacrificing to come up for these 3 days to put their faith to action, to advocate for Israel and her people. And we're going to go home tomorrow, and we're going to restart our engines to get ready to do it again 364 days later, more or less. As an Israeli, as a Jewish person, what can you say to our crowd that we can take home with us, that gives us fuel to our flame, knowing that we are going to come back again next year because we know there is no finish line in this fight? What can you say to our people?
Sandra, I know your father for many years. I'm active in public life for like the last 30 years. And you can see that one man, one leader can accomplish so much. And we are all thankful for Pastor Hagee, for his leadership. But it's up to all of us to make the change, to wake up every morning and to understand that it's a marathon. We are not going to claim victory overnight. It's going to be hard. It's going to be intense. And I tell the young people here, it's going to be years ahead. So be ready for that, to wake up every day for the fight. I can tell you one thing, thank you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your unconditional support for the people of Israel. Thank you for your dedication. And I know that with your love, with your support, with your dedication, we will prevail. Am Yisrael Chai. Toda Rabba. Thank you very much. God bless you for standing with Israel. Together, we will prevail.
Pastor Hagee.